Hey there, welcome to Fun Learn Talks, the podcast where we break down business, technology, and history into stories that sparks your mind and makes you smarter. I'm Anu, and we explore ideas that shaped the world from empires and entrepreneurs to code and culture. If you love connecting dots and asking why things are the way they are, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's story. I want to tell you a poignant story from history that's deeply embedded in Chinese culture. Picture this. After the aggressive state of Qin conquered Chu, the heartbroken Chu poet Qu Yuan, unable to bear the defeat, threw himself into a river. Local fishermen, desperate to save him, rowed furiously, but in vain. To prevent the fish from desecrating his body, they scattered rice into the river. This act of respect and despair has evolved into the modern day Dragon Boat Festival, where every year, on the fifth day of the fifth lunar month, dragon boat races are held, and glutinous rice wrapped in bamboo leaves is eaten. Qu Yuan's tragic end remains a symbol of loyalty and patriotic sacrifice, resonating deeply through the centuries. Meanwhile, back into 46 BCE, a mere 13-year-old Yin Zheng ascended to rule Qin, which had conquered Chu. It took him 25 determined years to subdue all rival states and crown himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of Qin. Imagine, at the young age of 38, he had unified a jaw-dropping 3 million square miles under his rule. His reign, though marked by visionary achievements like the amalgamation of these vast territories, also bore the seeds of tyranny. Qin Shi Huang's rule was so absolute that it would forever shadow over Chinese politics. To safeguard his hard-won empire, he commanded nearly 1 million subjects. That's 1 in 5 people under his rule. To build an extensive network of roads, signal towers, and the earliest versions of the Great Wall. Here's where we see the duality of Qin Shi Huang's legacy. The impressive scale of his accomplishments, juxtaposed against the oppressive measures taken to achieve them. It raises a mirror to the broader themes we've discussed, the delicate balance between governance, law, and moral influence in shaping a civilization. These narratives from ancient China are not just historical recounts, they are reflections of the deep philosophical undercurrents that have shaped a nation for millennia. Intriguing, right? Let's keep going. Imagine the scene. We're in the heart of ancient China, under the rule of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor who would stop at nothing to secure and centralize his power. Picture massive walls stretching across rugged landscapes. Yes, the early formations of the Great Wall, designed ingeniously to keep out the Xiongnu, a formidable group of nomadic tribes. Now, let's shift our focus from the physical to the intellectual realm, where Qin Shi Huang's strategies took an even more dramatic form. Unlike prior rulers who distributed land among the elite, Shi Huang completely restructured his empire. He divided his realm into 36, later expanding to 48 administrative regions. Each was strictly controlled by a combination of civil and military bureaucracy, a bold move that eliminated traditional power bases and centralized authority directly under the emperor. And oh, the innovations didn't stop there. Shi Huang introduced a single currency, a round copper coin with a square hole, standardizing commerce until the early 20th century. He also unified measurements and even the width of cart axles, ensuring that all carts could travel smoothly on roads. Quite the practical thinker, wasn't he? But one of his most groundbreaking reforms was in writing. Qin Shi Huang mandated the standardization of Chinese characters, which had previously varied significantly from one region to another. This move was more than just administrative tidiness. It was a powerful tool for unifying a vast empire, ensuring that everyone read and understood directives in the same way, reinforcing his control. Yet, not everyone found favor in Shi Huang's eyes. The emperor had a notorious disdain for Confucian scholars, with their emphasis on virtue and moral governance. Instead, he gravitated towards legalism, which favored harsh laws and severe punishments. This philosophy deeply influenced his decisions, perhaps catalyzed by his advisors like the cunning Li Si, who suggested extreme measures to suppress any dissent. Think about this for a moment. In 213 BCE, at Li Sei's suggestion, Qin Shi Huang ordered an infamous book burning. All historical records not conforming to the Qin narrative were to be destroyed. Anyone caught discussing old traditions or possessing banned books faced not just execution but a complete erasure of their families. And if that wasn't enough, failing to destroy these books led to a life of hard labor on the very walls designed to protect the empire. Interestingly, certain texts were spared, mainly concerning medicine, agriculture, and the I Ching. It's a twist of fate that some of the Confucian classics survived, preserved through sheer luck or perhaps clandestine efforts. And amidst these cultural purges, a darker, more chilling act took place. It's said that more than 460 scholars were buried alive under Shi Huang's orders. Though the historical accuracy of this claim by Sima Qian, penned a century later, remains debated, it underscores the lengths to which Qin Shi Huang went to silence opposition and cement his legacy. This narrative isn't just about the birth of bureaucratic and architectural wonders, it's about the profound and sometimes terrifying lengths to which absolute power can be exercised. Through walls, both physical and metaphorical, Qin Shi Huang built an empire unified under a singular vision, but at a cost that continues to echo through history. Interesting, right? Let's keep going and delve deeper into the consequences of such centralized power and the legacy it left behind in the annals of Chinese history. The phrase, burn the books and bury the scholars, originated as a metaphor for oppressive rules during the Qin dynasty and has echoed through history as a symbol of intellectual tyranny. Imagine a scene from centuries ago, a despotic era when intellectual freedoms were so stifled that fleeing was the only option for some. This landscape of fear and control is depicted exquisitely in the tale of Peach Blossom Spring, crafted by poet Tao Yunming. This idyllic haven is where descendants of those who escaped Qin's oppressive reach lived in undisturbed peace. A stark contrast to their past. Now, fast forward to 1958, where Mao Zedong, chairman of the Communist Party of China, chillingly embraced his comparisons with Qin Shi Huang, the notorious emperor. What's the big deal about Qin Shi Huang? He buried only 460 Confucians alive. Well, we've buried 46,000. We are 100 times greater than Qin Shi Huang, Mao famously declared. It's startling, isn't it? To openly admit to magnitudes more repression and still regard it as a point of pride. This brings us to the portrayal of Qin Shi Huang in more modern cultural expressions. The 2002 film Hero, directed by Zhang Yimou, reflects this complexity beautifully. The film's protagonist, initially on a mission to assassinate the emperor, finds himself wrestling with a tough choice. Is the unity of all under heaven worth the price of tyranny? Ultimately, despite his decision to spare the emperor, Qin Shi Huang orders his execution. Here, we see the embodiment of power's absolute corruption, ignoring even those who would have seen it sustained. Meanwhile, echoing from 2019, physicist Yang Cheng questions the cost of such a unity, saying, how many libraries must be set on fire? How many ideas erased? So an empire can paint a mirage of national unity from the ashes. The usage of the phrase be Qin, meaning to avoid or flee Qin, lingers stubbornly in dissident writings even today, symbolizing resistance against oppression. And of course, despite his drive for national unity and monumental constructions like the Great Wall, Qin Shi Huang was widely despised by ordinary people and nobility alike. The tale of Meng Jiang highlights the personal toll of his reign. Her story of traveling thousands of miles to deliver warm clothes to her conscripted husband, only to find him dead, and her subsequent tears bringing down part of the Great Wall, continues to resonate as a poignant symbol of personal loss and resilience against tyranny. Qin Shi Huang's death in 210 BCE is shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Perhaps it was assassination or an accidental poisoning from a so-called immortality potion containing mercury. The aftermath of his death is just as fraught with drama. Li Si, the emperor's companion, tried to conceal the death during their journey by using fish to mask the smell of the decaying body. a macabre yet oddly pragmatic approach. In an ultimate twist of political maneuvering, Li Si opted to inform only the emperor's second son of his death, crafting an imperial edict to force the crown prince to commit suicide. Li Si set the stage for the younger, so to become the second emperor of Qin. But just as power can corrupt, it can also weave the seeds of downfall. The new emperor, feeling no loyalty to Li Si, enacted a brutal purge, leading to Li Si's execution and the decimation of his family. Let that sink in. The intrigues, betrayals, and the sheer weight of history continue to shape stories and legacies centuries later. From the tyrannical shadow of Qin Shi Huang to modern metaphors of repression, the lessons from these narratives are timeless, challenging us to reflect on the cost of power and the enduring spirit of resistance. As we reflect on this vivid tale of China's mighty dynasties, we glimpse the cyclical nature of power and succession through the magnificently elaborate mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang, one of history's most iron fisted rulers. This emperor, who commanded the construction of an underground army of terracotta warriors to guard him in the afterlife, left behind a legacy so compelling that it took accidental discovery centuries later to unveil the scope of his imperial vision. Each clay soldier, uniquely crafted, stands as a silent sentinel to history's relentless march. So, what can we take away from all this? Perhaps it's the enduring truth that despite the grandeur of the empires and the might of their rulers, the threads of corruption and discontent eventually weave their downfall. Sima Qian's observations remind us of this inevitability. The stronger the dynasty at its peak, the more spectacular its fall when governance falters, setting the stage for a fresh tide of rebellion. Here's something concrete. The Qin dynasty, though its architectural and administrative influences were profound, lasted less than 2 decades. Its demise, catalyzed by oppressive laws and harsh taxes, led to looters breaking into Qin Shi Huang's tomb, ravenous for treasures, a telling sign of the people's disapproval and desperation. The chaos following Qin's fall illustrates a vivid tableau of betrayals and bold maneuvers. Liu Bang's rise, an illustration of how unpredictable the tides of fate can be, moved from a peasant to founder of the Han dynasty. His rule, though emerging from the turmoil of the Qin's collapse, embraced a synthesis of legalist structure with more humane governance, effectively sowing the seeds for a stable and prosperous empire. Reflecting on Liu Bang's strategic brilliance and the emotional saga surrounding Ba Wang, including the poignant tale of loyalty from his horse and concubine during their final moments, featured in stories and opera, highlights an essential human element. It showcases that amid political machinations and battles for supremacy, personal stories of love, sacrifice, and loyalty resonate through the ages. As Liu Bang's Han dynasty bloomed, claiming more territory and achieving remarkable advancements, it's a reminder that even in the aftermath of conflict and upheaval, there's room for renewal and growth. It's these moments of transformation that have often paved the way for golden ages in civilizations. Let that sink in. The empires and leaders we've talked about, their triumphs and downfalls, they are not just tales of the past. They are mirrors reflecting our own societal struggles and triumphs. This cyclical narrative of rise, decay, and rebirth in dynastic tales doesn't just belong to history, it belongs to us as we navigate our own leadership challenges and societal issues. As we wrap up this chapter, consider the resilience and ingenuity it takes to rise from ashes. Think about what lessons these ancient stories hold for us today. How does the past inform our present? And what might it suggest about our future? From the constellation studded ceilings of an ancient tomb to the strategic sonnets sung by a besieging army, each element of history offers insights, not just into the chronicles of old, but into the essence of human endeavor and the eternal quest for legacy, leadership, and renewal. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the echoes of ancient China. The rise and fall of empires and the men who steered their destinies reminds us of the transient yet impactful nature of leadership and power. That's it for today's episode on Fun Learn Talks. where stories from business, technology, and history keep your curiosity alive. If you enjoyed the journey, make sure to follow, rate, or share it with a fellow curious mind. And hey, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment or connect with us online. I'm Anu, and I'll catch you next time, right here on Fun Learn Talks. Until then, keep learning, keep wondering.